The year 2147 marked humanity's darkest hour in terms of mental well-being. Earth had become a pressure cooker of psychological turmoil. Environmental pollution choked not just lungs but spirits. Social tensions simmered in every interaction, and suicide rates had climbed to unprecedented heights. The global population moved through their days like ghosts, hollow-eyed and disconnected, their faces illuminated by the cold glow of holoscreens that followed them everywhere. In the sprawling, neon-drenched landscape of New Tokyo, the gleaming headquarters of Neuroflux Corporation towered above the city like a silver monument to human ingenuity. But deep beneath its polished exterior, in laboratories hidden from public scrutiny, darker ambitions were taking shape. Dr. Lam Du stood in his private laboratory, observing the swirling azure mist contained within a reinforced glass chamber. The gas, codenamed Ether X, was his brainchild, a revolutionary atmospheric compound designed to influence neural pathways associated with stress and anxiety. His reflection in the glass looked back at him, a man in his early 40s with intelligent eyes and premature silver streaks in his black hair, the result of years pushing the boundaries of neuroscience. Beautiful, isn't it? A voice broke his concentration. Like watching the birth of a new era. Dr. Du turned to face Raven Kao, Neuroflux's imposing CEO. Her sleek business suit couldn't hide the predatory intensity that had made her the youngest woman to build a trillion-dollar tech empire. Her black hair was pulled back in a severe bun that emphasized her sharp features. "It's still experimental," Dr. Du cautioned, stepping away from the chamber. "The preliminary results show promise, but we're years away from human trials." Raven's laugh was soft but carried an edge. "That's where you're wrong. Dr. Du, the board has approved accelerated deployment." "Accelerated?" Dr. Du's voice rose. "That's reckless. We don't fully understand the long-term neurological impact." "What we understand," Raven countered, moving closer to the chamber, her reflection merging with the swirling gas, "is that humanity is destroying itself from the inside out. Anxiety, depression, rage, they're consuming people faster than any disease. Your creation is the cure we've been waiting for. A cure requires consent. Consent, Dr. Du argued. Informed consent." Raven turned, her smile never reaching her eyes. "And they'll have it. We're launching a series of meditation workshops across New Bangkok next week. Your Ether X will be an atmospheric enhancement. You're planning to gas civilians without their knowledge?" Dr. Du's hands clenched into fists. "That violates every ethical standard in scientific research." "Ethics," Raven dismissed the word with a wave of her hand. "A luxury for societies not on the brink of collapse. Think of it as a compassionate intervention. We'll be giving people what they desperately need but don't know how to ask for." As she walked toward the exit, she paused. "Your concerns are noted, Dr. Du, but the decision is final. I expect your full cooperation in preparing the deployment protocols." The laboratory door sealed behind her with a pneumatic hiss, leaving Dr. Du alone with the swirling blue gas and the weight of impending moral catastrophe. Across the metropolis, in the bustling district of New Bangkok, journalist Mai Trang hunched over her holodesk in the cramped office of the Independent Observer, one of the few remaining news outlets not owned by megacorporations. At 33, Mai had built her reputation on exposing corporate malfeasance, her articles distinguished by meticulous research and an unwavering commitment to truth. "You look like you haven't slept in days," said her colleague, Renata Silva, placing a steaming cup of synthetic coffee on Mai's desk. Dr. Silva had once been a promising bioethicist before corporate pressure drove her to journalism, where she now specialized in the intersection of technology and medical ethics. "I haven't," Mai admitted, taking a grateful sip. "I've been tracking unusual supply chain movements. Neuroflux has been quietly acquiring massive quantities of specialized filtration equipment and atmospheric regulators. Maybe they're just upgrading their facilities, Dr. Silva suggested, though her tone suggested she didn't believe it herself. Mai shook her head, pulling up a three-dimensional projection of purchase records. These aren't going to their research facilities. They're being distributed across New Bangkok, installed in ventilation systems of public spaces. And look at this, she swiped to reveal another document. They've suddenly announced free meditation workshops in those exact locations. Dr. Silva frowned, studying the overlay of installation sites and workshop venues. That can't be coincidence. Neuroflux doesn't do coincidences. Mai agreed. They don't do charity either. Something's happening next week, and whatever it is, they don't want people to know the real agenda. What's your next move? Mai closed the projection with a flick of her wrist. I'm going to attend one of these workshops. If Neuroflux is planning something, I want to see it firsthand. Be careful, Dr. Silva warned. Corporations like Neuroflux don't take kindly to journalists poking around their projects. Mai's smile was grim. That's exactly why someone needs to do it. The first meditation workshop was scheduled at New Bangkok's Central Community Hall, a spacious venue normally used for civic gatherings. Mai arrived early, observing as technicians made final adjustments to what appeared to be ordinary air conditioning units. Their uniforms bore no Neuroflux logos, but she recognized specialized equipment inconsistent with standard climate control. People began arriving, stressed office workers, exhausted parents, anxious students, all drawn by promises of revolutionary relaxation techniques and instant mental clarity. Mai blended in, taking a seat near the back where she could observe both the participants and the technical equipment. A serene-voiced instructor welcomed everyone, leading them through basic breathing exercises. 20 minutes into the session, Mai noticed a subtle change in the air, not visible, but perceptible as a slight sweetness on the back of her tongue. She reached for her pocket sensor, but before she could activate it, a profound wave of tranquility washed over her consciousness. All around the room, expressions of worry and fatigue melted away. Furrowed brows smoothed, tense shoulders dropped, clenched jaws relaxed. The instructor continued speaking, but Mai found herself caring less about the words and more about the extraordinary sense of peace permeating her mind. Analytical thoughts tried to form, warnings about what might be happening, but they dissolved like sugar in hot tea, leaving only sweetness behind. When the session ended 90 minutes later, Mai found herself in a state she had never experienced. A profound mental clarity coupled with serene detachment from her usual anxieties. All around her, participants were exchanging looks of wonder and gratitude. That was incredible, murmured a woman beside her. I've tried meditation apps for years and never felt anything like this. I feel like I've been carrying a boulder on my shoulders my whole life. And someone just lifted it away, a man added, his eyes bright with unshed tears. Mai nodded, struggling to reconnect with her journalist's skepticism. Something extraordinary had happened, something beyond normal meditation practice, but the lingering tranquility made it difficult to summon her usual investigative drive. Still, as she left the community hall, a small part of her brain, the part trained through years of critical thinking, registered that whatever had occurred was not the result of simple breathing exercises. Back in her apartment, as the effects gradually diminished, Mai began documenting her experience, fighting to maintain objectivity. By morning, her concerns had crystallized into a hypothesis. Neuroflux was using the workshops as cover to test some form of mood-altering atmospheric agent. Her article, titled "The Suspiciously Effective Meditation: Questions About Neuroflux's Free Workshops," was published the next day. But rather than triggering public concern, it was met with dismissal and even ridicule. "I attended that workshop," commented one reader. "There were no chemicals, just excellent instruction. Not everything is a conspiracy." "Typical fear-mongering from the dying traditional media," wrote another. "I've never felt better in my life." Maybe you should try actually meditating instead of looking for problems where there aren't any. The response baffled Mai. Even her most skeptical pieces had never generated such unified pushback. More troubling was her editor's reaction. "I'm pulling the article," he informed her. "We've received unprecedented complaint volume, and, frankly, your evidence is circumstantial at best." "Since when do we back down because people complain?" Mai demanded. "That's usually how we know we're on to something." "This is different," her editor insisted, not quite meeting her eyes. "Look, why don't you attend another session with a more open mind? The techniques could genuinely be effective." As the conversation ended, Mai realized with growing unease that her editor had recently attended one of the workshops himself. Within weeks, the meditation workshops had become a cultural phenomenon. Additional sessions were scheduled to accommodate growing demand, and social media buzzed with testimonials about life-changing experiences. People who attended regularly began calling themselves Zen masters, identifiable by their serene demeanor and an almost evangelical zeal for recruiting others. Dr. Du watched this unfold with mounting horror from his laboratory, where he was secretly documenting EtherX's effects. The gas worked by temporarily suppressing neural pathways associated with fear, anxiety, and critical thinking, while stimulating regions linked to pleasure and contentment. The immediate effects were blissful tranquility and enhanced suggestibility. But his ongoing research indicated concerning longer-term consequences: reduced capacity for independent thought, diminished emotional range, and, most alarmingly, physical dependency. "You've done incredible work, Dr. Du," Raven commented during her weekly inspection. "The public response exceeds our most optimistic projections. People are practically begging for more sessions." "Because they're becoming addicted," Dr. Du countered, showing her brain scans from regular participants. "These neural patterns show classic dependency formation. When the effects wear off, they experience increasing anxiety, worse than their baseline state, driving them back for another dose." "You're describing a perfect product cycle," Raven observed with undisguised satisfaction. "And soon, they won't need to attend workshops at all." "What do you mean?" Raven activated a holographic display showing a network of pipes and distribution nodes spreading across a city map. "Phase 2, we're integrating EtherX delivery systems into municipal air processing. Subtle, continuous exposure for entire populations." Dr. Du stared at the plans in disbelief. "You're planning to drug entire cities without consent. That's not just unethical, it's a crime against humanity." "Humanity is what we're saving," Raven snapped, her composure slipping. "Look around you. Dr. Du, before our intervention, people were drowning in their own minds. Now they're experiencing peace for the first time in generations. The global suicide rate has already dropped 12% in areas with workshop coverage. At the cost of their autonomy," Dr. Du argued, "their right to choose. Free will is a luxury we can no longer afford." Raven said, her voice softening to something almost maternal. "The experiment is over, Dr. Du. The results are clear. Your creation is saving lives, creating harmony. Isn't that what you wanted when you developed EtherX?" The question hit him like a physical blow. Hadn't he started this research hoping to alleviate suffering? To create something that could lift the crushing weight of anxiety from a tormented world? But not like this. Never like this. "I need to know you're with us," Raven continued. "The global deployment requires your expertise." Dr. Du forced his expression to remain neutral. "Of course, the research is my life's work. I just need time to adjust to the accelerated timeline." Raven studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Good. I've arranged a special demonstration for government officials next week. Your presence will be required." After she left, Dr. Du collapsed into his chair, his mind racing. He had helped create a chemical weapon disguised as enlightenment, and now it was poised to spread across the globe. He needed to act, but Neuroflux's security systems monitored his every move. He needed help from someone outside the system. Mai Trang was reaching similar conclusions as she documented the spreading influence of the workshops. Her initial article had been retracted, but she continued investigating privately, collecting testimonials from family members concerned about personality changes in regular workshop attendees. My husband used to be passionate about politics, about fighting for change, one woman confided. Now he just smiles and says none of it matters, that we should accept things as they are. It's like talking to a stranger wearing his face. A college student described his roommate's transformation. He was this intense philosophy major, always debating ethics and questioning authority. Now he just sits around looking blissed out, saying he's transcended the need for intellectual struggle. He's stopped attending classes but goes to those workshops 3 times a week. Most disturbing were the physical symptoms appearing in habitual participants, headaches and anxiety attacks when they missed sessions, respiratory issues in some long-term attendees, and subtle cognitive decline documented in Mai's discrete cognitive testing. Dr. Silva, who had remained skeptical about the workshops, helped Mai analyze the patterns. These symptoms are consistent with chemical dependency, she observed. And the personality changes suggest some form of neural modification beyond typical meditation effects. I need to get a sample of whatever they're using, Mai decided. But the workshops are too well monitored. There might be another way, Dr. Silva said thoughtfully. If they're using an airborne agent, it would require specialized equipment for synthesis and distribution. Perhaps we could trace the supply chain. Using Dr. Silva's contacts in the medical research community, they identified a manufacturer of advanced atmospheric processors who had received massive orders from shell companies linked to Neuroflux. Following this thread led them to a warehouse in New Bangkok's industrial district. Under cover of darkness, Mai infiltrated the facility, documenting crates of equipment being prepared for shipment worldwide, hidden among inventory lists. She found something that turned her blood cold. Detailed plans for integrating EtherX dispersal systems into urban air purification infrastructure across 5 continents. As she was photographing the documents, her communication device vibrated with an incoming message from an anonymous sender. Your investigation into the workshops is correct. Neuroflux is using mind-altering gas called EtherX. I can provide evidence. Meet tomorrow. 2200 Memorial Park, East Entrance. Come alone. Dr. Du waited in the shadows of Memorial Park, his heart pounding. He had taken an enormous risk sending that message, but after seeing the global deployment plans, he could no longer remain silent. His conscience would not allow him to participate in what amounted to chemical enslavement of the human race. When a slight figure approached cautiously, he recognized Mai Trang from her news profile. You're the journalist who wrote about the workshops, he said quietly. Mai tensed, ready to flee. And you are? Dr. Lam Du. I developed EtherX for Neuroflux. He saw her take an instinctive step back. Not for this purpose. It was meant to be a controlled therapeutic tool, administered with consent in clinical settings for severe anxiety disorders. But instead, they're gassing unsuspecting civilians, Mai said, her voice tight with controlled anger. Dr. Du nodded, shame washing over him. It started as a humanitarian project. EtherX temporarily suppresses the brain's fear responses while enhancing neural pathways associated with peace and acceptance. In controlled doses, with informed consent, it could help people with crippling anxiety or PTSD create new neural patterns. And in uncontrolled doses, without consent? Mai pressed. Dependency, reduced critical thinking, increased suggestibility. He handed her a data crystal. This contains my research, including evidence of Neuroflux's plans for worldwide deployment through municipal air systems. They're calling it Operation Clear Mind. Mai took the crystal, her expression grave. Why are you doing this? Why risk everything to stop it? Dr. Du was silent for a moment, looking out at the park where holographic cherry blossoms perpetually bloomed, replacing the real trees that had died decades ago. My grandmother was a Buddhist nun in Vietnam. She taught me that true peace comes from within, through discipline and choice, not from external shortcuts. What Neuroflux is doing isn't enlightenment, it's enslavement. They're stealing people's capacity to choose their own path. We need to expose this, Mai said. But my previous article was shut down immediately. Neuroflux has too much influence over media and government. There's more, Dr. Du said grimly. They've scheduled a demonstration for government officials next week, a concentrated dose to ensure immediate compliance for regulatory approval. If that happens, there will be no stopping the global deployment. Then we need to do more than expose them. Mai realized. We need to stop the production of EtherX itself. The main production facility is beneath Neuroflux headquarters. Dr. Du explained. Heavily guarded, but I have access. The security systems know me. They'll be monitoring you closely after the demonstration. Mai pointed out. You'll need a distraction. As they began formulating a plan, neither noticed the drone hovering silently above the park's holographic trees, its surveillance cameras capturing their conversation for Raven Cow's private security team. The next morning, Dr. Du was summoned to Raven's office. The CEO's smile was glacial as she activated a holographic projection of his meeting with Mai. I'm disappointed, Dr. Du, she said, circling him like a predator. I thought you understood what we're trying to accomplish. I understand perfectly, he replied, refusing to show fear. You're using my research to create compliant consumers and citizens who won't question corporate or government control. Raven laughed, the sound devoid of humor. So dramatic. We're creating peace in a world tearing itself apart. The human experiment with unfettered free will has failed spectacularly. Look at the results. Environmental collapse, rising violence, epidemic mental illness. Humans weren't designed to handle the complexity of modern existence. And you appoint yourself the arbiter of human consciousness? Dr. Du challenged. Someone has to make the hard decisions. Raven's voice hardened. You're confined to the facility until after the government demonstration. Your access is restricted to your personal laboratory. Security will escort you everywhere else. As armed guards led him away. Dr. Du realized their plan had just become far more complicated. But he had anticipated this possibility and had already taken precautions. While Dr. Du was being confined, Mai and Dr. Silva were analyzing the data he had provided, uncovering the full scope of Neuroflux's operation. The chemical formula for EtherX was devastatingly clever, designed to create an artificial enlightenment experience while quietly restructuring neural pathways toward docility and compliance. This isn't just mind control, Dr. Silva observed, studying the molecular structures. It's consciousness engineering on a scale never before attempted. Mai nodded grimly. And according to these deployment plans, they're preparing to release it into the atmosphere of every major urban center, beginning with the Asia-Pacific region. We need to warn people, Dr. Silva insisted. With what evidence? Mai countered. The formula alone won't convince anyone. It's too technical for public comprehension. And Neuroflux will simply deny everything, claim we fabricated the documents. We need something more dramatic, more undeniable. Their planning was interrupted by an encrypted message from Dr. Du. Confined to lab, security watching. Still have access to production systems. Can create temporary system vulnerability at exactly 2:12 tomorrow. External access possible through maintenance shaft 7B for exactly 3 minutes. Main valve control room is target. Mai looked at Dr. Silva. He's giving us a window to physically sabotage the production facility. That's a suicide mission, Dr. Silva objected. Neuroflux security is military grade. What choice do we have? Mai asked. Once they get government approval, Ether X will become legally sanctioned mind control. Billions of people will lose their autonomy without ever realizing it. After lengthy debate, they agreed. Mai would infiltrate the facility while Dr. Silva coordinated from outside, ready to publish all their evidence simultaneously if anything went wrong. The night of the operation arrived with unseasonable rain lashing New Bangkok, providing additional cover as Mai approached the towering Neuroflux headquarters. Dr. Du had provided detailed schematics showing Maintenance Shaft 7B, a rarely used access point for the underground production facility. At precisely 200, the security field around the shaft flickered and died. Mai slipped inside, descending into the sterile labyrinth beneath the corporate tower. Following Dr. Du's directions through her earpiece, she navigated through service corridors, narrowly avoiding security patrols. The main valve control room is 50 meters ahead, Dr. Du whispered through their secure channel. I've looped the security feeds, but it won't last long. You'll need to manually override the emergency shutdown protocols. Mai reached the control room and began the sequence Dr. Du had outlined. But as she initiated the final command, alarms blared throughout the facility. "What's happening?" she demanded. "Someone's overriding my override," Dr. Du responded, panic evident in his voice. "Get out now!" But before Mai could retreat, the control room door slid open to reveal Raven Kao, flanked by security personnel. "Miss Trang," Raven greeted her with cold amusement. "How enterprising of you to join us tonight, though I'm afraid you're too late." On the monitors surrounding them, Mai could see the government demonstration already in progress in a conference room above. Dozens of officials and regulators seated around a table as hidden vents silently pumped concentrated Ether X into the air. "They're experiencing the future as we speak," Raven continued. "By morning, Operation Clear Mind will have full regulatory approval. You're drugging government officials to manipulate policy," Mai said, horror and disgust evident in her voice. "That's treason." "It's evolution," Raven countered. "Throughout history, human progress has required visionaries willing to make difficult choices for the greater good. This isn't progress," Mai argued. "It's control. You're not eliminating suffering. You're eliminating the capacity to choose how to respond to suffering." Raven sighed. "Such idealism. The capacity to choose has brought humanity to the brink of extinction. We're offering something better, guaranteed contentment, at the cost of everything that makes us human." A new voice joined the conversation as Dr. Du entered, escorted by more security personnel. He looked at Mai apologetically. "I'm sorry, they detected my tampering." Raven smiled. "Dr. Du has been most helpful in refining our security protocols, albeit unwittingly." She gestured to the guards. "Take them both to holding. After tonight's success, we'll have plenty of time to decide their fate." As they were being led away, a massive explosion rocked the facility, sending tremors through the floor and causing the lights to flicker. Alarms blared with renewed urgency. "What was that?" Raven demanded. A security officer checked his communication device. "Explosion in the main production chamber. Ether X containment systems are failing." Dr. Du exchanged a glance with Mai. Neither of them had planned this. "It's Dr. Silva," Mai realized. "She must have implemented our backup plan." Chaos erupted as emergency protocols activated, security personnel rushing to contain the damage. In the confusion, Mai broke free from her captors, pulling Dr. Du with her as they fled down a maintenance corridor. "We need to reach the central distribution hub," Dr. Du gasped as they ran. "If Ether X is leaking, the atmospheric dispersal system will spread it throughout the building, including the executive levels that are normally protected." "Is that good or bad?" Mai asked. "Depends on the concentration," Dr. Du explained. "The explosion may have created an unstable mixture. At high doses, Ether X can cause severe psychological disorientation rather than artificial calm." They reached the distribution hub to find Dr. Silva already there. Her clothing singed, but her expression triumphant as she worked at the control panel. "You're alive," Mai exclaimed. "Barely," Dr. Silva acknowledged. "I couldn't let them take you, so I used the explosives we prepared as backup." "The government officials," Dr. Du began. "Already evacuated," Dr. Silva assured him. "The explosion triggered emergency protocols, but the Ether X production system is compromised. We need to shut it down completely before it contaminates the city's air supply." Dr. Du joined her at the controls, his fingers flying over the interface. "The main valve is jammed in the open position. Someone has to close it manually." "Where?" Mai asked. Dr. Du pointed to a massive chamber visible through reinforced glass, a cavernous space filled with swirling blue gas and complex machinery. "There. But the atmospheric concentration in that room is lethal without protection. There's an emergency hazmat suit in the decontamination chamber," Dr. Silva noted, pointing to an adjacent room. "I'll go." Dr. Du decided, "I created this nightmare. I should be the one to end it." "No," Mai countered. "You're the only one who fully understands Ether X. If something goes wrong, you'll be needed to develop a countermeasure." Before either could stop her, Mai rushed to the decontamination chamber, sealing herself inside as the automated system covered her in protective material. "The valve requires 2 people," Dr. Du shouted through the communication system. "The safety protocols demand simultaneous activation from opposite sides of the chamber." As if in answer to his concern, the door to the control room burst open, and Raven Cow staggered in. Her normally immaculate appearance was disheveled, her eyes wild. The Ether X leak had reached the executive levels, and she was clearly experiencing the disorienting effects of high-concentration exposure. "What have you done?" she demanded, her voice oscillating between rage and confusion. "Do you have any idea what you've destroyed?" "A world of chemical slavery," Dr. Silva replied coolly. Raven lunged toward the controls, but Dr. Du intercepted her. "It's over. Raven, the government officials have been evacuated. They'll know something went wrong here tonight." "Nothing is over," Raven snarled, struggling against his grip. "Ether X production facilities exist worldwide. This is just one node in the network." Through the glass, they could see Mai entering the production chamber, the hazmat suit providing temporary protection as she made her way toward one of the manual override stations. "We need someone at the second station," Dr. Du told Dr. Silva urgently, "or the valve won't close." To everyone's surprise, Raven suddenly stopped struggling. "Let me go," she said, her voice oddly calm. "I'll do it." "Why would you help us?" Dr. Silva asked suspiciously. Raven's expression shifted, a strange lucidity breaking through her chemical disorientation. "Because I built this system. If it's going to be shut down, it should be by my hand." When they hesitated, she added, "It's the only way to prevent catastrophic failure. The explosion damaged the automated failsafes." Dr. Du reluctantly released her. "There's another hazmat suit in the secondary decontamination chamber." As Raven prepared to enter the chamber, Dr. Du spoke through the communication system to Mai. "Raven is taking the second station. Be careful. I don't trust her motives." Mai had reached the first manual override, a massive wheel valve that required significant physical strength to turn. Through her protective visor, she could see Raven entering from the opposite side of the chamber, similarly protected in a hazmat suit. The 2 women approached their respective stations, eyes locked across the swirling blue mist that filled the space between them. In that moment, they represented opposing visions of humanity's future, one built on freedom with all its messy complications, the other on engineered contentment without choice. "On my count," Dr. Du instructed through their communications. 3, 2, 1, now." Mai and Raven began turning their valves simultaneously, the massive wheels resisting at first, then gradually yielding. The blue mist started to thin as the Ether X was diverted into containment tanks. "Keep going," Dr. Du encouraged. "The pressure is dropping." just as success seemed within reach. Raven suddenly stopped turning her valve. Through the thinning gas, Mai could see her removing her protective helmet. "What are you doing?" Mai shouted. "The concentration is still toxic." Raven's voice came through the communication system, eerily serene despite the danger. "I've spent my life trying to create peace for a world that doesn't know how to find it. I thought Ether X was the answer, a technological shortcut to enlightenment." She took a deep breath of the concentrated gas. "Perhaps I was wrong about the method, but not about the need." "Raven, put your helmet back on," Dr. Du pleaded. "The system is almost reset." But Raven continued her exposed, moving toward Mai with unsteady steps. "Finish it," she said, her voice growing faint as the gas overwhelmed her system. "But remember why we created Ether X in the first place. The suffering is real, even if our solution was flawed." She collapsed to the floor as Mai completed the final turns of her valve. The emergency systems activated, rapidly clearing the remaining gas from the chamber. Security alarms continued to blare throughout the facility, but the immediate danger of citywide contamination had passed. Emergency response teams arrived minutes later, securing the facility and providing medical treatment to those affected by Ether X exposure. Raven Cow was rushed to intensive care, her system overwhelmed by the concentrated dose she had willingly inhaled. In the chaotic aftermath, evidence of Neuroflux's global plans was secured by independent investigators. The corporation's stock plummeted as news of Operation Clear Mind spread worldwide. Government inquiries were launched in dozens of countries, and the meditation workshops were immediately suspended pending investigation. For the millions who had been regularly exposed to Ether X through the workshops, the coming weeks proved challenging, without the chemical inducement of artificial tranquility. Many experienced withdrawal symptoms, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, and in some cases, profound existential distress as they confronted the reality that their enlightenment had been chemically manufactured. Support groups formed spontaneously, former Zen masters helping each other through the difficult transition back to unaltered consciousness. Some were angry at the deception, while others mourned the loss of the peace they had briefly experienced, however artificial it had been. 3 months after what became known as the Neuroflux incident, Mai Trang published her comprehensive exposé, "The Chemistry of Consciousness: How Corporate Power Nearly Engineered Humanity's Future." The piece won global journalism awards and sparked ongoing debates about the ethics of neurological intervention. Dr. Du, cleared of criminal charges due to his eventual cooperation with authorities, dedicated himself to developing non-invasive meditation technologies that could help people achieve natural states of calm without chemical manipulation. His research center, funded by assets seized from Neuroflux, emphasized transparency and informed consent in all its protocols. Dr. Silva established the Global Bioethics Initiative, working with international regulators to create new frameworks for evaluating emerging neurotechnologies. Her mantra, repeated in congressional testimonies and university lectures alike, became, "The path to our minds must always be guarded by our choice." Raven Cow survived her Ether X overdose but suffered permanent neurological damage that left her in a state of peculiar serenity, neither fully present nor entirely absent. From her secured medical facility, she granted a single interview to Mai Trang. "I still believe humanity needs help finding peace," she told Mai. Her once sharp gaze now softened into something almost mystical. "But I was wrong to try to impose it. True enlightenment cannot be manufactured or stolen. It must be chosen. My mistake was one of impatience." The final paragraph of Mai's article became a touchstone for the global conversation that followed. The Neuroflux incident forces us to confront fundamental questions about consciousness in an age of advanced neurotechnology. Where is the boundary between therapeutic intervention and mind control? Who should hold the power to influence human thought? And perhaps most importantly, is a perfect tranquility worth the sacrifice of the very freedom that makes us human? As we navigate this new frontier, We would do well to remember that the greatest achievements of human consciousness, art, science, compassion, and wisdom have emerged not from perfect contentment, but from the complex interplay of struggle and insight, pain and joy, doubt and conviction. Our minds, with all their magnificent flaws, remain our final frontier of freedom. 1 year later, a small but growing movement emerged. People who practiced traditional meditation techniques with renewed appreciation for the difficulty and authenticity of the journey. They called themselves true seekers, deliberately distinguishing themselves from the artificial Zen masters of the neuroflux era. On the anniversary of the incident, Mai found Dr. Du sitting cross-legged in Memorial Park, where real cherry trees had been planted to replace the holographic ones. "How are the withdrawal support programs going?" she asked, joining him on the grass. "Better than expected," he replied. 97% of affected individuals have successfully transitioned back to baseline neurological function. Some even report greater emotional resilience than before their exposure. "And the trees?" Mai gestured to the young saplings surrounding them. Dr. Du smiled. "They struggle, as all living things must, but they grow stronger for it." He plucked a small blossom, examining it thoughtfully. "My grandmother once told me that true meditation is like watching a lotus grow through mud, slow, difficult, sometimes painful, but ultimately transformative precisely because of the struggle, not in spite of it." "Do you think humanity learned anything from all this?" Mai asked. Dr. Du considered the question carefully. "I think we were reminded of something we've always known but sometimes forget. That the most valuable states of consciousness are those we achieve through our own efforts. There are no shortcuts to wisdom, only the path each mind must walk for itself, one step at a time." Above them, the sky over New Bangkok was clear for the first time in generations, free of both pollution and hidden chemical manipulation. People moved through the park with the full range of human emotions on display, joy and sorrow, serenity and anxiety. All authentic, all chosen, all real. In her secure medical facility across the city, Raven Cow sat by her window, watching the sunset with unnaturally peaceful eyes, a living reminder of the fine line between visionary progress and catastrophic hubris. In her journal, found years later, she had written a single line that perhaps best captured the lesson of the Ether-X saga. "The mind is the last wilderness. May we explore it with reverence rather than conquest."